You're listening to Hardscape Growth, a podcast for hungry professionals who want to grow their businesses and level up. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Hardscape Growth Show. I'm your host, Alex from TechnoBlock, and today we're going to do another solo ride here as I talk about some stuff that I've been thinking about as we've been recording this season of the show. We've had a lot of great experts on and contractors on, and there's a lot of conversations that we have that we don't necessarily record and make as part of the shows, but we do talk about the industry, what's going on with the economy, what's going on with the market, what are some of the changes. And I think it's really appropriate that we have a conversation here about what should we be doing in terms of trying to grow our business going into next year. I know it's what we talk about on every episode of the Hardscape Growth Show, emphasis on the word growth. But I think it's important that we really take a step back and look at what's really happening. What do we need to do? So what's really happening is, we have a fantastic episode with Todd Tomalak that I absolutely love. It came out a few weeks ago. And that one is, I'll give you guys the name since it's here, Todd Tomalak's vision for the golden age of remodeling. Long story short, we are in the trench, or we're in the valley between two peaks in this decade is the theory. When you look at the data, we see that we were in huge demand to start the decade. Now we're in the middle where it's doing not so well, but all the small projects that normally would fill our pipeline are all on hold until there's some economic turnaround, until interest rates start going up, start coming down, and then people feel a little more lax and safe in spending their money again on home renovation projects of our nature. So what that means is there will be another wave later on in the coming years. So if we want to be able to capitalize on that second wave, which will probably be, realistically speaking, late 2025, going into 2026, that's when it should start turning around again. If I had to guess, based on everything that I've learned and read and discussed so far this year, if we want to be ready for that, there's a lot of stuff that we've covered in previous episodes about really knowing your numbers and dialing in your processes and having good training programs for your people. That should set you up so that you can be ready to capitalize on the growth then. Also, things like marketing your business very heavily, building a very strong brand so that you have a good presence in the mind share of your local market and the customers that you want to do business with in the future. That when they're ready, they're thinking of you, they're calling you. When they're looking for you, you figured out your SEO, you built a good website. All these things that we've talked about in the almost 75, 80 episodes that we've done of the show, all that stuff is stuff that you work on slowly but surely to prepare for the next wave. But what do you need to do right now to be ready for the next 6, 12, 18 months? Here's what I think you need to do. You need to figure out how to maximize the revenue per client. And you need to be able to figure out how to gain access to the clients who can be maximized. So you're not looking for the bottom of the barrel type of client. You're not looking for entry-level projects. You're looking for the mid to high on the spectrum, which sounds obvious, great, easy, sure. It's not, I get that. But when you're in front of the customer, it's so hard to get those calls in now. It's so hard to get those meetings with the right clients. When you're in front of them, it is critical that you figure out how can you maximize every revenue generating opportunity for your company. So that means, can you sell them your design service? Can you sell them a consultation fee? Can you, when you're designing this project, think of all the extra features that you can add onto the project? We had a fantastic episode where we talked about snow melting systems. I want to reframe the thought around snow melting systems. I was having a conversation with Paver Pete this summer, and I learned through his conversations with a few of the different suppliers of snow melting systems and radiant heat systems across North America that the highest consumers of these systems are in markets like Arizona, California, Texas, Nevada. Why? It's not cold there. I don't need to melt snow there. But people like the feeling of radiant heat under their bare feet outside. So that got my gears turning and saying like, that radiant heating system is not just for snow melting. It's literally for anywhere where I'm going to be hanging out a lot in my bare feet. Maybe it's the walk from the patio door to the hot tub. Maybe it's at the kitchen grill island. Maybe it's around the fire pit where I want to hang out and I want to be cozy. Maybe it's under a shade structure. There's a lot more opportunities for heated pavements than just driveways and front walkways. That's a huge opportunity. And if you want to learn more about how those systems work, you can check out the episode that we did with Erica Gieb from snowmelting.ca. Now, he's in Montreal where they need to do a lot of snow melting systems because we get a lot of snow. But the system and the logic behind it is still there. That episode, Tapping into the High-End Market, is the title of the episode. It was published on July 11th. It's just under an hour long. It's a fantastic conversation, not only on how these systems work, but also how to tap into that high-end market. What are some of the changes in your mindset? What are some of the changes in your approach? And what are some of the changes that you can expect from the people you're dealing with because they are a different type of person? Fantastic episode. But heated pavements represents one of the ways that we can diversify our offering to customers to maximize the revenue potential with every sales interaction that we have moving forward.
This episode is brought to you by Hardscaper.com. The Hardscaper mission is to empower industry professionals with the skills, inspiration, and confidence they need to take their businesses to new heights. Struggling with training programs for your team? Looking for helpful tips to build a better company? Subscribe today to gain access to hours of interactive on-demand hardscape construction and business courses for free. Check out hardscaper.com.
Another great opportunity is cleaning and protecting of hardscapes. This is something that we're going to cover at the 2024 Hardscaper Showcase events, and why we're covering it is very simple in my eyes. If we look at the trend of the last 5 years, everybody wants large-scale, light-colored, smooth-textured pavement options. They also have understood the importance of outdoor kitchens and entertaining and creating living spaces outside beyond just a place to sit down. What that means is we've created floors that see a lot more traffic and are a lot more available to be spilled on, I guess, is for lack of a better way of saying it. We've created an opportunity for floors to get dirty more often. And because they're lighter colors and they're smooth textures and they're large units, they're harder to clean. So that means that there's an opportunity. You can see that as a problem, or you can see it as an opportunity. The opportunity is to offer protection of the hardscapes. And it is significantly easier than when I was installing or when I was selling these products way back when. A lot of the technology has evolved on the water-based side of things. So there are solvent-based and there are water-based sealers and protectants. And what I'm proposing to you all here is get to know the water-based protectants, not sealants. Sealants will create an impenetrable seal on both sides of the product, meaning moisture and stains can't get into the product, but also moisture from within the product cannot get out. And that leads to other stains. Anybody who's ever applied a sealer before on pavers that were even the slightest bit damp or a little bit of moisture in the sand before they applied the sealer, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It gets milky and it gets impossible to clean. You need to strip the sealer off. And even those chemicals that are used to strip sealers, they're becoming outlawed in many parts of North America. So you don't want to go that way. But protectants, specifically water-based protectants, can be absorbed into the concrete. They absorb into the pores. But on the microscopic level, they allow water vapor to get out. So they protect the surface, but let moisture to get out. It's kind of like Scotch Guard for your couch or for your car seats, but for the hardscape, which is a fantastic opportunity. Who doesn't want that? And for the cleaning part, that totally makes sense to me, because if I'm going to deliver a $100,000, $120,000, $130,000, $140,000 or $200,000 backyard makeover project, I want to deliver it in pristine condition. And there are a lot of cleaners out there now that help me do that are not super intense acids. They're acid-based blends, so their pH is a little more neutral, and they really attack the stains without attacking the substrate, without attacking the concrete. So I'm not etching it, I'm not burning the pigments, I'm really just lifting off the boot stains, the clay, the mulch stains. Even when you're doing a lot of wood, like a lot of these shade structures, you're cutting the wood, the sawdust sits there for a bit, leaves a bit of a stain. There's a lot of cleaners that can remove that. And there's a lot of cleaners that we can use to do just a general post-construction wash. At that point in time is the best time to apply the protectant. And if you do a water-based protectant, even if there's a little bit of moisture in the joints or in the pavement, it doesn't matter. And that moisture will evaporate through the protectant without affecting the finish or overall appearance. So I think that's another big opportunity. So radiant heating, cleaning and protecting, two huge opportunities. We've talked about landscape lighting at Hardscaper Showcase a lot. I think that's a no-brainer. Landscape lighting is critical to creating the type of backyard dreamy space that homeowners really want. And that's important because they're spending most of their time outside. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time outside at night. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about why we need to get lights in, but that is something that if you're not familiar with landscape lighting and you don't have a brand yet, come to Hardscaper Showcase. We'll have a few of them on display. You can talk with the vendors. You can talk with other contractors using them. But I think we have some of the best lighting options in the world that will be on site at our shows. So don't miss that. Audio is another one that is underrated. I think having a killer sound system in the backyard, I personally have one. I think it's an awesome add-on, and it's something that can be included in your original bid. Can be added even at the time of installation very easily. There's a lot of systems where I just need to run the cable in the soil. It's insulated, so I don't even need to worry about conduit and having run everything beforehand. And it's something you can also quote, get a good price on, and come back and do it next year if they want. So I think that's really important. And another thing to not sleep on is financing for projects. A lot of contractors say they don't need to offer financing. They say their clients already have some means to pay, but I think it's something to not underestimate either, because what you can do with good financing programs is you can use it to establish credibility for your company. Because if you have a payment plan program or a series of options that you can propose to a client that you have published on your website, that is on all your documentation and you leave with prospective clients, what you're showing is how solid your company is. Your company is strong enough and credible enough to be affiliated with a financial institution. That speaks volumes in the eyes of the client to how credible you are as a business person, how credible your business is. It also lets them know that there are options. So a lot of times, we all can agree to this, the homeowner does not know what the project actually will cost. They don't understand the true value. So when you provide them with a quote, it often catches them by surprise. Or in your initial conversation, you're saying, we typically will have these projects range based on the description you've given me between $75,000 and $120,000. Is that what you had in mind? And they'll say, well, I was thinking more 50 to 60. Another opportunity to bring up the payment options. It gives them flexibility. They can finance all or part of a project. It allows you to avoid stretching a project out into phases. You don't want to come back to that house every single year and keep building little pieces of it without breaking the other stuff. They don't want to see you coming back every year. So this gives a much more comfortable and viable option for both parties. And the other thing is it ensures your payment. Because when you use these financing plans, the financial institution gives you the money. Job is complete, you've been paid. And you can structure as many draws as you need with the right payment structure overall over time. So that means I can structure a 20% or 25% or a 30% deposit at signature or a 50% deposit at signature. And at this date, I get another draw. At this date, I get another draw. And upon final delivery, I get my final 10%. You can structure however you need to with programs like the Pave Now, Pay Later program that TechoBlock offers to Techo Pros. So I think that's another great opportunity And I know I've said this for the last few episodes, but it's true. We're wrapping up 2023. You need to look at what you need to focus on 2024. And I think getting yourself signed up for Techo Pro to then gain access to the Pave Now, Pay Later program is something to not neglect. Most of the contractors that are having success with it are having success with it because they're using it to market to clients. They advertise the fact that they're now offering payment plans, which gets people interested, like, I wonder what this is about. And then they come to your website and they discover this other stuff. It helps when people come to the website organically because they see, oh, I have this payment option. It helps facilitate the conversation with the client. When you're talking about price, you have ways that you can make this happen for them. There's a lot of pros. And most of the contractors that are having success, they're not using the program with every client, but it is part of every conversation and it does help every conversation. So I think that's something to keep in mind. Don't look at it just as a sales tool. Use it as a marketing and sales tool. So as we wrap up the year and look to next year, you want to have success next year. I think there's like 5 main things. Get yourself affiliated with manufacturer programs so you can benefit from referrals and get benefits like payment plans and discounts from partners. That's all stuff that Techo Pro has. Learn a few other ways that you can diversify your offering. So if you're not in outdoor audio, get into audio. If you're not into lighting, get into lighting. If you're not offering radiant heating, learn about that. Understand how simple it is to add to your offering. Clean and protect services for me is a no-brainer. Plus, that opens the door to revenue with all of your prior customers and any other customers. Clean and protect, you can clean and protect anybody's job. It doesn't have to be something you built. So all of a sudden, wide open. And make sure that you're attending industry events and checking out other things going on like Hardscape or Showcase or other trade shows. And obviously keep listening to this podcast and other podcasts like it. But keep your eyes and ears really open because the industry is changing very quickly. There are a lot of opportunities. And although it's very doom and gloom out there and we're worried about the interest rates and we're worried about inflation and we're worried about a weak economy and we're worried about all the other stuff going on in the world, there's still a ton of opportunity if we know how to look at it. So understand what your clients want. I talked about this in one of the episodes I recorded recently where we talked about the importance of being customer obsessed and really focusing on what the customer wants. What do your customers want? That's another great thing to do. Go back and kind of replay all your sales calls of the last 6 months. Is there a pattern? Is there something that every client wants that you are not offering at the top level? How can you offer it at the top level? What do you need to change? What do you need to buy? What do you need to learn? What people do you need to hire? What needs to change to get you to the top level of a customer experience and customer offering so that you stand out by being the best? Because there's always room in the market for the best, and the best seldom have to bend on their price or compromise on their principles or their values. And I think that's what everyone who starts their own business really wants. They want to do things the way that they want to do them. And I still think that that opportunity exists, even in a down economy. You just have to know which angle to play it. So I hope this was helpful. I know there's not a lot of action items necessarily very specific. I think there's a lot of general stuff. But I think, I was just about to leave the office here today and I was thinking about, what can we put out there that's information that can at least point someone in the right direction if they're not sure what to do. And I think those are priority areas. That is assuming that you've got your construction dialed in. You have the right people and that part of the business is rolling and you want to take the next step. That's all the things you need to do to take the next step. If you're not ready to take that next step, what are things you need to do? You need to sit down and you need to document processes and get your number 2 and get your number 3 in the room, start documenting processes, start identifying what training programs are missing to get people up to speed. You need to hire people. What do those people look like? What attitude do they need? And define what those job descriptions are, define career paths for those people. I think if you do that, that's the foundational stuff. If you get that foundational stuff, then you have the right people and you're forming the know how to build stuff, then you can start looking at like, okay, let's add these other things. Artificial turf is another one I didn't mention. So yeah, I hope this one helps. I was trying to keep it short and sweet. I know it kind of bounced around a little bit, but I still think this is useful information for you. And if you want to learn more about any of these things, hit us up on Instagram at hardscaper_. Ask us your questions, give us your comments. You can also leave comments directly on Spotify if you're listening there. And since you're there, why don't you leave us a review, because we're trying to make sure that we can reach as many people as possible. And those 5-star reviews and comments really help get the name out there to other people. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, everybody, work hard, pave harder. We'll see you next week on the Hardscape Growth Show.
You've been listening to Hardscape Growth, a podcast for hungry professionals who want to grow their businesses and level up. Each episode is all about taking the next step in running your business, so make sure you never miss a show by subscribing on your favorite podcast player. And if you're finding this information to be useful, help others in your position discover us by giving us a star rating and leaving a comment. We'll see you next week.